Hello, so this is our presentation on how sex drives evolution. Sometimes males have maladaptive characteristics. Many of these times they're in the form of sexual dimorphisms. For example, peacocks are a really good example of sexual dimorphisms. Examples of these dimorphisms could be color, the size of the animal, armor, weaponry, sounds like mate calling or bird sounds or bird songs, or the intensity of attention seeking. This is another example of the male peacock, and you can see the difference with the female, which is she's brown and small, and the male has very large plumage. These sexual dimorphisms can also be a handicap to the animals. For example, the widow bird has a longer tail than usual to attract females, but it doesn't allow for it to evade predators that well. Another example is the deer. Its antlers can be used to fight for the female, but it's also a metabolic burden to the animal. Why do certain features become to be in a certain sex that harms its survival? Features are always mostly restricted to males. This is due to the fact that the currency of reproduction is not actually survival, rather the currency is reproductive success. Now thinking with reproductive success and females as a prize, then this is why males have these certain traits. The prize in itself is that widow birds' tails allow for greater female attention, and deers with bigger antlers win more jousting and sire more offspring. Sexual selection is seen in two different ways. The first one is male-male competition, and the second one is female choosiness. With male-male competition, it is a direct competition between males for access to all the females, or to a certain female. With battle competition between males, the trait that allows them to drive off competitors is what allows them to win. For example, elephant seals fight for the females, and deers use their antlers for jousting. In female choosiness, production of various male traits that females choose among other possible mates is what it's called. Bright colors, ornaments, bowers, mating displays are used for female choosiness, and not all males are the same. Those chosen features are more attractive and become more abundant in the population. For either male-male competition or female choosiness, both are successful in gaining males more mates. For example, the male northern elephant seals of the Pacific North America are much bigger than the females. This allows for male-male competition. They fight with their tusks to get females. They're polygynous, therefore they mate with more than one female at a time. Winners hoard the females in harems, and losers become bachelors. Only 10% of the males get to pass on their gene. This competition for females doesn't end with sex itself, it continues after. This is called post-mating competition. Some males can plug female reproductive tracts temporarily. They can hang around the female to guard her. They can become attached to a female for hours to days. They can also inject an anti-aphrodisiac to make females less willing to have sex with other partners, so they're protecting their own mating. On the offensive side, they can remove sperm, and they can inactivate stored sperm that was put there previously from a different mating. For example, dragonflies become attached to females for hours after mating.
So moving on to the other portion of sex, here are 3 images that are going to contribute to the sex portion. This guy right here, he's an emperor of Morocco, and I'm going to talk about him and further on to explain everything. And here's the Russian lady who I'm also going to talk about regarding sexual selection. And these are flatworms. These little white things, they're actually fencing to see who is going to be the one that's going to become the mother. Why sex, you may ask? Well, why sex evolved is, in fact, one of the greatest mysteries. Reproduction advantages. Any individual who reproduces sexually by making eggs or sperm that contains only half of its genes. Asexual reproduction compared to sexual reproduction is called by biologists a twofold cause of sex. It sacrifices 50% of its genetic contribution compared to asexual organisms. The key may well lie in random shuffling of the genes that occurs during the sexual reproduction, which produces new combinations of genes in the offspring. By bringing together several favorable genes in one individual, sex might promote faster evolution, like evolutionizing defense mechanisms, the ability to be able to attract the opposite sex, and sexual selection. Males have a high ratio of sperm, and females have a lower ratio because of the egg production. In other words, males have a higher ratio of actually passing on their genes to the next generation, unlike females, because for males it's really cheap since they produce so much sperm compared to females having a few eggs, which makes it more difficult for a female to actually pass on their genes since it's expensive because they have to give nutrients, and since it's actually developing in the female's body, so it would actually take a lot more effort for the female rather than the male that just can, just go anywhere and mate with any other partner. As we mentioned earlier, males tend to compete for females, thus they have a higher chance of success to mate. Biologists describe this difference by saying that the variance in mating success should be higher for males than for females. For example, the Emperor of Morocco in 1646 to 1727 had 342 daughters, 525 sons. So by 1721, he had about 700 descendants, which is a trip. In the 18th century, a Russian peasant who was a female had 69 children, 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets. She presumably had some physiological or genetic predisposition to multiple births. That goes to show that it's a lot more successful for a male to actually pass on their genes rather than females, since females have so much to invest.
In conclusion to how sex drives, sexual selection in genes, like the preference gene in females, allows for the identification of certain genes in males, such as color and size. Sexual selection creates these dimorphisms because females benefit by choosing. They get direct benefits when a male can make healthier babies that during childcare are easier to take care of. An indirect benefit is when a male has better genes than other males, so they can pass that on to the next generation.